Tonight on CTV News at 6, all eyes on Alberta. World elites in Kananaskis for the G7 summit.
Our primary focus will be trade and trade with Canada.
Flash flooding in Sherwood Park.
Crazy adrenaline, like it just flows. You're like, what?
And smaller fines and more tow trucks will back up street sweepers and snowplows in Edmonton.
We want to be able to clear our streets both in the winter and spring in the most efficient and cost-effective way possible.
After a sunny and warm day, another chance of some showers and thunderstorms overnight tonight and in the coming days.
CTV Edmonton, local breaking news with Jeff Hastings.
Good evening. Severe thunderstorms rolled into the Edmonton area on Father's Day. Most sections of the city were hit with a mere heavy downpour. In Sherwood Park and other areas, it was hail and flooding rain. CTV's Connor Hogg has more.
The sky opened up just as people who live on Parker Drive were sitting down to Father's Day dinner. Hail fell and water climbed up lawns as people rushed to try to move their submerged vehicles.
Crazy adrenaline, like it just flows. You're like, what?
You don't know when it's going to end. And I was happy I wasn't alone.
Crews worked to stop the rising water before it reached homes.
It's quite terrifying, and, it's stressful because, the first thing we do when we get here is try to clear the drains and get the water flowing.
Strathcona County says there was so much rain that the stormwater system was overwhelmed, and some catch basins were blocked by debris. Neighbors helped each other out.
A couple young guys from houses down the block came over and just hopped right in with their rakes and started cleaning up. It was great to see these poor guys. It was freezing, ice cold water.
Less than 24 hours after the big flood, the water is gone. The last bits of hail, driveway debris, damaged plants, and water-soaked vehicles left behind. But people who live here say this isn't the first time Parker Drive has been underwater.
It's just something that we wish maybe the county would look at the infrastructure a little bit and see how they can improve.
Randy Billick of Avalon Construction says there was very little that could be done once the water started climbing. He says taking simple precautions beforehand can buy time if the rains come.
See where the downspouts are draining. Are the eaves splashing over? Is the water running away from your house? These are the beginning signs of trouble.
Back on Parker Drive, the cleanup continues. And while some have more work to do than others, all are thankful it wasn't worse.
The water's good for the grass, for sure.
A sunny outlook in contrast to Sunday. In Sherwood Park, Connor Hogg, CTV News.
Organizations representing healthcare workers are calling on the provincial government to keep funding COVID-19 vaccinations. The province says it's about being fiscally responsible, but some doctors say it'll end up costing taxpayers more. Nicole Weisberg reports.
When I went for the shingles vaccines, I need two of those, $360 for two of those. Now it's going to be the COVID one.
The costs are adding up for seniors wanting vaccine protection.
I get it every 6 months, and even at $110, I'll still get it every 6 months. I'm not going to that hospital because I could die in there.
The province has announced come fall, it will only cover the COVID shot for the highest risk groups, those with compromised immune systems and seniors in congregate settings, as well as people on social programs.
I am not happy about it. We can afford to pay for it, but I think that it should be readily available to anybody.
Healthcare workers are also upset they'll no longer be covered. Unions representing Alberta nurses and 30,000 other healthcare staff are calling for the decision to be reversed.
I think that there really is a duty to provide whatever protections available to those people. And that makes a difference also in healthcare system sustainability. If you have waves of healthcare workers getting sick while everyone in the community is getting sick, that does not help us provide good care.
On her radio show this past weekend, the Premier said it's about being fiscally responsible and reducing waste.
And it's not insignificant. It was over $100 million, I think $135 million of wasted products.
This emergency room physician says with more people in hospital and more healthcare staff sick, this will do just the opposite.
I don't believe anybody with expertise informed them on this because there's just no question that if we are short-staffed and have to pay overtime for our healthcare workers, that's going to be a huge cost and burden that will immediately, any gains that they got from charging healthcare workers would be lost.
The province estimates each shot could cost about $110, but a price has not been finalized. Nicole Weisberg, CTV News, Edmonton.
Meanwhile, the measles tally is nearing 1,000 cases in Alberta. Over the weekend, every zone recorded new cases except Edmonton's. Our health region is still sitting at 6 confirmed measles cases. Central and Calgary zones each recorded 1 new case. There are 16 new cases in the north and 35 in the south. That health zone has by far the most at 647. The heads of some of the most powerful nations in the world are in our province for the G7 summit in Kananaskis. The Prime Minister wasted no time in meeting with U.S. President Donald Trump, the man at the center of an international trade war. CTV's Michael Couture has more on day 1 of the summit.
U.S. President Donald Trump says a deal with Canada is achievable soon, but just how he and Prime Minister Mark Carney will get to a resolution remains unclear.
Our primary focus will be trade and trade with Canada, and I'm sure we can work something out. Yeah.
But it's unclear which path the two countries will agree on.
I've always been a tariff. It's simple, it's easy, it's precise, and it just goes very quickly. And I think Mark has a more complex idea, but also very good.
The meeting lasted for more than an hour and focused on trade negotiations and advancing the security relationship between the two countries.
The important thing is that we collectively think we're making progress and coming to a deal that would be in the economic interest of both countries, but we're not there yet, and that's why we reconvened after the meeting with the President and the Prime Minister, and we agreed to reconvene before the end of this week again.
While those bilateral negotiations continue, Prime Minister Mark Carney kicked off the G7 meeting, calling for unity at a time when he says the world is more divided and dangerous.
We're gathering at one of those turning points in history. I think we all recognize that turning point where the world looks to this table for leadership.
But it's already proving difficult with Trump again suggesting Russia be included around this table. And he falsely claimed Justin Trudeau was Prime Minister in 2014 when Russia was booted from the G8, when in fact it was Stephen Harper.
The G7 used to be the G8. Barack Obama and a person named Trudeau didn't want to have Russia in, and I would say that was a mistake, because I think you wouldn't have a war right now if you had Russia in.
The war in Ukraine will be part of the discussion on global peace and security, which is scheduled for this evening, as will the talks around the escalating violence in the Middle East. Michael Couture, CTV News, Kananaskis, Alberta.
World leaders aren't the only ones who travel to our province for the summit. Demonstrators from near and far have traveled to Banff to try and send their message on a world stage. CTV's Terry Fikowski reports.
Overhead, the sound of security, but below, discussions of dissent. A few dozen people gathering in Banff on Monday to send their message to G7 leaders.
And, having Trump be allowed into Canada kind of bothers me.
Different groups took turns at the podium advocating on a range of issues, from human rights violations in China to the Hamas-Israel conflict and the war in Ukraine.
To support our leader who is coming to Canada, just to show that there are some Ukrainians who are standing beside him.
Legacy for everyone. A small convoy of cyclists rolled into the rally from Canmore, calling for the protection of parks.
We rode the legacy trail. It's kind of symbolically to ask the leaders, what is your legacy?
Others came from Calgary, demanding action on climate change.
I do think that there is an irony to it with the wildfire smokes and with the coal mining in the eastern slopes that they are gathering here.
But this man, a Buddhist monk, traveled from Japan. He walked 10 days from Calgary to Canmore in hopes leaders will ban nuclear weapons and avoid his country's dark history.
I am praying for peace, for abolishing nuclear weapons.
Japanese dignitaries in Banff say they share in those concerns and are a priority for the Prime Minister meeting with other leaders.
China's current external stance, their military activities and other activities,
pose a serious concern for Japan, our regional partners, and the international community.
But aside from a few signs and security, many are actually unaware G7 leaders are meeting just 80 kilometers away.
You know, the G7 summit is happening here as well?
No. Banff's mayor says it's business as usual, with the town accustomed to accommodating high volumes of visitors.
This is our busy time of year, so we are all staffed up and ready to welcome the world.
Motivation for the small group who took their message to Main Street in hopes their concerns don't fall on deaf ears.
And Terry Fikowski's live at the Banff protest site tonight. Terry, are we expecting more demonstrations tomorrow?
Jeff, we are told that some demonstrations will take place here tomorrow. We're unsure of the size or where they're coming from, whether local or traveling here to Banff to send that message to world leaders in Kananaskis. Today's demonstrations were peaceful. They, as you saw, did go out a small portion on the street when they are meant to stay here in the designated protest site at the Finland's Banff Rec Center. It remains closed throughout the three-day summit, and though the rallies here, whether big or small, are being streamed to the leaders in Kananaskis. Jeff, back to you.
All right, thank you, Terry. That's Terry Fikowski live for us in Banff this evening. Clients from Poundmakers Lodge treatment centers are now scattered across other recovery agencies after a fire damaged the lodge over the weekend. Poundmakers Lodge says a fire broke out early Saturday morning. It's still investigating the cause of the fire and assessing the damage. It says clients have been relocated to partner recovery homes around the region. They're still receiving traditional and culturally appropriate care thanks to the help of partners and Indigenous elders. Parkland RCMP are searching for two people involved in bear spraying a Spruce Grove woman who interrupted a break and enter.
What's in your...
The landlord was sprayed after police say she confronted a male and female breaking into an apartment building last week. Police say the female suspect fled and the male suspect turned around and unleashed the bear spray before fleeing. Parkland RCMP are looking for anyone with surveillance video of the suspects in the area of Spruce Ridge Drive on the evening of June the 12th. The Edmonton Oilers say they need to be ready to go from the opening face-off if they want to win Game 6 and continue their quest for the Stanley Cup.
It'd be nice to get out and play with that lead. You know, that's our goal, is to start strong and get that first one and play from there.
For whatever reason, our group doesn't like to make it easy on ourselves and put ourselves in another difficult spot, and it's our job to work our way out of it, and I would expect that tomorrow.
The Oilers practiced in Florida this morning ahead of Game 6. The head coach wouldn't reveal who his starting goalie will be tomorrow. Chris Knobloch says he considers a number of factors when choosing a goalie, including input from other coaches, management, and players.
Knowing, you know, who they feel is going and who they feel confident at that time. And then, you know, there's also the workload. Obviously, February playing 3 and 4 is a little bit different than playing an elimination game, but I think it's just ultimately who do we feel is in the best position to win us a game.
Tomorrow night's game begins at 6. If the Oilers win, Game 7 is Friday here in Edmonton. Before the Stanley Cup final is even over, Oilers captain Connor McDavid is adding another milestone to his record. He'll make his Olympic debut on Canada's men's hockey team at the Games in Italy next year. McDavid was among the 6 players announced today. Two-time gold medalist Sidney Crosby will also be on the roster, along with 4 others from Canada's Four Nations team: Sam Reinhart, Nathan McKinnon, Cale Makar, and Braden Point. This will be the first time in 12 years NHL players will compete in the Olympics. Longtime City Councillor Andrew Knack began his campaign for mayor over the weekend. Knack says he'll not be affiliating with a new municipal political party and will run as an independent. In September, Knack said he would not be seeking re-election as a city councillor. He says he started considering a mayoral run when current mayor Amarjeet Sohi decided not to seek re-election. Knack says he plans to focus on 3 issues.
We're hearing about affordability, we're hearing about safety, and we're hearing about how we're going to keep up with this rapid population growth. We've added 200,000 people into the city in the last 4 years. What does that mean for the infrastructure and services that we need and that people expect in all parts of the city?
3 other candidates have filed their papers to run for mayor. That includes fellow city councillor Tim Cartmel, as well as Abdul Malik Chakwudi and Omar Mohammed. Former city councillor Todi Katarina says he also plans to run. The municipal election is October the 20th. NAIT auto body students have been working on a piece of Canadian history. They've been freshening up a 51 Lincoln Cosmopolitan convertible built for a royal visit to Canada. CTV's Amanda Anderson got a look at the royal ride before it's showcased at NAIT's annual car show.
It's not often students in NAIT's auto body program get to work on an antique car.
Cars these days, everything is a little bit more brittle. Everything's a little bit more delicate, smaller, a lot more plastics. But on a vehicle like this, there's a lot more steel, a lot more kind of heavy-duty parts. It kind of goes back to saying how they don't build them like they used to.
About 80 students have played a role in rejuvenating this 51 Lincoln Cosmopolitan convertible's body and paint. About 1,500 hours of work have gone into the job. This is what it looked like in February, and this is what it looks like now.
It looks fantastic. The students at NAIT did a really, really great job.
Barry Cochran's dad owned the car for more than 30 years.
My dad really was proud of that car. We really cherished it.
He says seeing it now brings back a lot of memories.
It was such a great vehicle to ride in. People waved and they honked their horns, and it was a real attention-seeking.
The significance of it and the history of it, it just adds even more to the coolness factor of it.
It's one of 60 cars built in 1951 for Princess Elizabeth's first visit to Canada before becoming queen.
It's my understanding that she did, in fact, ride in that specific car.
We're excited to be part of the ongoing history, to be able to move this car forward, that hopefully it can last for other generations to be able to see.
Its current owner, Ron Lyons, hasn't seen the car since leaving it in NAIT's care.
So I think that he's going to be blown away with the end result of this car.
There's still a few finishing touches required before the big reveal to Lyons this weekend, and the car put on display at NAIT's annual car show.
Supposed to be our centerpiece. Going to be very proud of it, of course. Going to be able to see it out in the sunlight, see what people have to say about it.
The car show runs from noon until 4 on Saturday at NAIT's Patricia campus. Amanda Anderson, CTV News, Edmonton.
Some people who had their eyes to the skies in the wee morning hours were treated to a meteor sighting. This fireball lit up the sky above Edmonton just after 2. An expert with TELUS World of Science says when meteors get that bright, they usually fragment. That means there could be meteorites scattered somewhere waiting to be found.
Close to it. A lot of meteorites contain iron. It's not a definitive test by any means, but if you see a little black rock sitting all by its lonesome and you bring a magnet up close to it and it gets attracted to the magnet, it could very well be a meteorite.
It appears the meteor was northwest of Edmonton. If you find any fragments, you can bring them to TELUS World of Science to confirm whether or not it is a meteorite. And meteorites, Josh, rain, hail, all these things, and then a pretty nice day today.
Yeah, big change from where we were over the course of the weekend with the flooding in Sherwood Park, some heavy, steady rain on Saturday. All told, around the Edmonton region, at least according to the official weather stations, looks like about 20 to 40 millimeters of rain Friday, Saturday, Sunday in and around Edmonton, although parts of Sherwood Park significantly more than that. Yeah, good. There was one backyard station reporting over 100 millimeters of rain in about an hour and a half. So no surprise there was localized flooding there yesterday. 24 degrees right now in Edmonton. It's been sunny skies pretty much all day. And it looks like 24 will end up as the daytime high for today. 3 degrees warmer than average after being right around average for your morning low. There have been some thunderstorms off to the northeast through the day today from around Fort McMurray, southeast toward the Cold Lake region. Those thunderstorms are still rumbling. You look off to the west, though, and there's one little lightning strike there in the Grand Cache region. Otherwise, it's just scattered showers for right now, but we'll keep an eye on that. There is a slight chance of a shower or an isolated thunderstorm in and around the Edmonton area overnight tonight. That would be after midnight if it's going to hit at all. The evening should be beautiful. Temperatures staying in the low 20s right through to about 9 o'clock tonight. 13 degrees tomorrow morning. Partly cloudy for most of the day tomorrow. Really similar to today. And then tomorrow evening could see a shower or thunderstorm. In fact, almost every day this week has a chance of some scattered showers or thunderstorms. So we'll break all that down in just a couple minutes.
Thank you, Josh. Still ahead on CTV News at 6, identifying the best punishment for a parking problem.
We do need folks to be getting their vehicles out of the streets.
New consequences for Edmonton drivers ignoring seasonal parking bans. Plus,
we're likely to get sort of one
burst of mosquitoes.
Why you may need to stock up on bug spray for the first time this spring.
Programming brought to you by James H. Brown Injury Lawyers, the heavy hitters of injury law.
Added tow trucks and smaller fines are on their way for drivers who don't move their vehicles during seasonal parking bans. City Council is trying to find the right formula for effective snow clearing and street sweeping, balancing enforcement with education. CTV's Jeremy Thompson reports.
With more than 12,000 kilometers worth of roads to clear, street sweepers have to hurry hard to get the job done. But the grit and grime have some well-placed guards to get around in the form of parked cars.
We want to be able to clear our streets both in the winter and spring in the most efficient and cost-effective way possible. And in order to do that, we do need folks to be getting their vehicles out of the streets.
Whether it's sweepers in the spring or plows in the winter, crews have plenty of obstacles to navigate. The city has issued at least 2,200 parking tickets in 3 of the 4 winters Edmonton has had a seasonal parking ban system. The exception was in 23-24 when the number of bylaw officers was cut from 15 to just 5, and the winter was mild enough the city didn't issue a parking ban on neighborhood roads. There's also been no city money for tow trucks for the last 2 winters.
Quite frankly, they're under-resourced.
Councillors are moving to change that, giving initial approval to spend $100,000 on tow truck contracting next winter, paid for eventually by property taxes. Councillors also support reining in the parking fine from $250 to $150, with a further discount for early payments.
If we scale up enforcement, we need to match it with a fine amount that is reasonable and not punitive.
City staff are also committing to better communication with the public. They already text or email you a parking ban warning if you sign up for that service. Jeremy Thompson, CTV News, Edmonton.
This weekend's downpour has put the City of Edmonton's mosquito treatment program into high gear. City scientist Mike Jenkins says crews are out treating sites where the insects are likely to be hatching. He says heavy rain that takes a few days to dry up makes for ideal mosquito conditions, but he says the ground is still pretty dry and that water will absorb quickly.
So we're likely to get sort of one burst of mosquitoes out of this, but then unless we get additional rain inputs, we may not see it continuing on for very long.
Jenkins says it's been a mild mosquito season so far, with cooler temperatures and a slow spring melt, leaving little standing water. The city is also keeping a close eye out for another pest, the emerald ash borer. The small beetle has decimated ash tree populations in many parts of eastern North America. Last year, it was found in Vancouver for the first time. Ash trees make up approximately 2/3 of Edmonton's boulevard trees. While none of the beetles have ever been found in Alberta, the city says continued prevention is key.
If we wait until it's too late, we'll end up like Detroit, where they basically have no ash trees anymore, and they spent millions of dollars just chopping down dead ash trees.
Signs of emerald ash borer include thinning branches on the top of trees and D-shaped holes where the beetles burrow. The city says it's extremely important to avoid transporting firewood between provinces, as it's one of the easiest ways for the bugs to spread. Hundreds of student athletes showed off their skills at the Raleigh Miles Athletic Grounds today for the Edmonton Public Junior High Track and Field City Championships.
Nerve-wracking, but it's also a great feeling to be able to have this opportunity and to be able to push yourself and just see how far you can go.
More than 65 schools took part in the championships. Events include more than 100 track races, different jumping events, shot put, and turbo javelin. The event was originally scheduled for last Tuesday. It was postponed due to the air quality index reaching +10. Up next, artificial intelligence making a real impact in preventing wildfires.
People taking preventive measures once they see their community on the map.
A look at the predictive technology that could prevent devastation in the coming decades.
Another warm day tomorrow. In fact, temperatures should be pretty similar to what we had today, and there is a slight chance that we could see some late-day showers and thunderstorms yet again. We'll talk more about all that right after the break.
Programming brought to you by Century Casino. 3 great locations: Edmonton, St. Albert, and Century Mile. Programming brought to you by Green Tree Outdoor Living, where your dream yard becomes a reality.
Despite a wet weekend, more than 20 wildfires are still burning out of control across the province. The Alberta Wildfire Dashboard shows 24 out-of-control fires. Alberta Wildfire says the rain helped crews make progress on wildfires in the Grande Prairie, Slave Lake, and Lac La Biche forest areas. More rain and cooler weather will be needed for some of the larger fires. Officials are keeping an eye on the high-level forest area.
We do have an out-of-control fire that's burning there, the Sousa Creek wildfire. It's affecting communities. It's very close to infrastructure, so we're doing everything that we can to make sure that we can contain that wildfire. It did not receive the amount of rain that we did in, say, the Slave Lake forest area this weekend.
The high-level forest protection area is still under a fire ban. A number of bans were lifted thanks to the rain. Over the last decade, wildfires have uprooted thousands of Albertans, destroyed homes and infrastructure. Scientists are trying to find new ways to use artificial intelligence to predict where fires will take place so they can be prevented. CTV's Connor Hogg reports.
Sudden, destructive, out-of-control wildfires. Large-scale events that destroy homes, landmarks, and in some cases, parts of entire cities have become a part of spring and summer in Alberta over the past decade. That's pushing a number of Canadian companies to develop ways to prevent the kinds of wildfires seen in Fort McMurray in 2016 and Jasper National Park last year.
A combination of statistical modeling, probabilistic modeling, and physical modeling to capture the fire behavior.
Some use drone mapping. Others, like Vancouver-based AI6, use complicated computer systems. Millions of simulations measure minute data, things like temperature, rain levels, wind patterns, and dryness. Jill Roberti with AI6 says software sifts through the results, pinpointing where a wildfire could start and spread.
To understand what is the probability of a fire occurring today and in 10, 20, 50 years according to different climate change scenarios. There might be cases where mitigation measure might be taken where, for example, preventive burns or fuel thinning.
Swan Hills, Grand Cache, and Jasper facing a higher probability of risk. The technology is new, but Roberti says it's already in use in several provinces, including Alberta, identifying potential hotspots to municipalities and insurance companies.
People taking preventive measure once they see their community on the map.
He says using this kind of preventative technology could also benefit people beyond the Canadian border.
There's fire all across the world. Because again, temperature is getting hotter everywhere, right? I like the idea of helping people, and this is like, I think, a good way to do it because it applies very complicated scientific concept to help people.
Applying science to help society. Connor Hogg, CTV News, Edmonton.
You know, Josh, one of the best things about the last few days is stepping outside and taking a deep breath of not smoke.
Yeah, which will be the case in and around Edmonton, really for most of the province for the next couple of days. Wednesday, you might see a little bit of that up in the Peace Country. But for Edmonton, low-risk air quality for the next little while. There's a look through the Action Furnace River Valley Skycam. Action Furnace, fixed right over, it's free. 24 degrees in Edmonton right now. Just a few thin clouds out there. More sun than cloud by a long shot. 19 degrees in Fort McMurray for a high today. Same in Slave Lake. Got into the mid-20s in Jasper, up to 26, 23 in Red Deer, and a high of 24 in Edmonton. Lots of thunderstorm activity in through northeastern Alberta. You got one new storm popping up there way off to the west of Fort McMurray. This is where most of the activity is, though, right now, off to the northwest of Cold Lake and heading off to the southeast into that region. Lloydminster as well, getting grazed with a little thunderstorm. This is starting to develop here off to the southwest of Grand Prairie. You've got some more impressive cells. Not a lot of lightning, though. It's further south of Highway 16. That's where we may see the development of one or two showers or thunderstorms that potentially could roll through the Edmonton region overnight tonight. This is 10 p.m. You see that action is still way off to the west-southwest of us, and it would be 1, 2 in the morning if we're going to get anything at all between Edmonton and Red Deer. Just a slight risk Partly cloudy skies again for tomorrow. Again, most of the shower and thunderstorm activity will be across northern parts of the province, but watch this stuff start to blow up late in the afternoon. There is a risk of some severe thunderstorms, primarily from around Red Deer off to the south and southeast through the late afternoon hours. Here in Edmonton, we're dry until perhaps supper time or early evening. It's going to be pretty hit and miss, though, through the late afternoon, early evening hours. Wednesday morning, I think there's a slightly better chance that you might see some showers early in the day. And watch this line of thunderstorms. These might turn severe here late in the day Wednesday, and so the timing on that would be roughly Wednesday evening. So you get a chance overnight tonight, slight risk. Late in the day tomorrow, a little bit better risk, and then Wednesday through the morning, and then again late in the day, a chance of some more precipitation. It's not going to be heavy, steady, non-stop rain, though. 16 degrees in Fort McMurray, 23 in Grand Prairie and Red Deer. It's 24 still in Edmonton, 24 degrees in Jasper, and 22 in Lloydminster, although temperatures are going to drop in a big way once those storms roll through. We could see, as we said, an isolated shower or thunderstorm overnight tonight. Otherwise, should be a beautiful evening. Nice for most of the day tomorrow. Sunny with a few clouds, 24 degrees for daytime high, and then around supper time, a chance of a scattered shower or thunderstorm. 21 Wednesday with that chance of showers in the morning, and then again possibly in the evening. Rain looks a little steadier on Thursday, so we've dropped temperatures back into the mid-teens. Summer officially starts on Friday, and it looks like a cool start to the summer seasons. Daytime highs will be in the mid to upper teens right through to early next week, with a little bit of warm-up on the way from the middle to the end of next week.
Thanks, Josh. Coming up, an early exit from the G7 summit for Donald Trump as fighting escalates in the Middle East.
Look, we're doing what we need to do. I'm not going to get into the details.
Israel says the worst is still to come on the 4th straight day of fighting. Also next.
We'll be blending in with the battle group and focusing on how to fight in tanks in that environment.
Local soldiers head overseas to provide a boost to a NATO mission.
Programming brought to you by James H. Brown Injury Lawyers, the heavy hitters of injury law.
U.S. President Donald Trump is leaving the G7 summit in Kananaskis a day early. The White House press secretary says it's due to what's happening in the Middle East. Today marked a 4th straight day of fighting between Israel and Iran. Israel is now warning that the worst is still to come. CTV's Adrian Gabriel reports.
News anchor Sahar Ramami is sent running as debris falls and smoke fills the set. These images provided by Iran state broadcasters show the aftermath. The Israeli Defense Force confirming the attack on the Islamic Republic of Iran news network, claiming the building was being used by the Iranian armed forces under the guise of civilian activity. Across Israel, empty streets and the high-pitched blare of air raid sirens have blanketed the country for days now, warning of Iran's continued counterattacks. In the northern Israeli port city of Haifa, authorities there confirm an Iranian airstrike evaded the country's Iron Dome missile defense system, hitting a residential building.
It's pretty shocking to see our little neighborhood, peaceful and quiet, so devastated.
This comes as Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu refuses to rule out targeting Iran's supreme leader.
Look, we're doing what we need to do. I'm not going to get into the details. What we're doing is targeting regime sites, nuclear sites, military sites, and ballistic missile sites that are embedded in Tehran.
Israel says 24 people have been killed and more than 500 injured by Iran's missiles and drones. In Iran, the health authority there says at least 224 people have died since the fighting began late last week.
We've been speaking with Canadians in Israel desperate to get out. The airports there and the airspace completely closed. Canadians with families in Iran say their loved ones are simply living moment to moment, just hoping to make it through another night. Adrian Gabriel, CTV News, Toronto.
Local members of the Canadian Armed Forces took off over the weekend to join NATO allies in a mission overseas. Roughly 100 members left Sunday for Latvia. These soldiers will be used in Operation Reassurance, which supports NATO's defensive measures in Central and Eastern Europe. The Canadian Armed Forces have deployed a task force for maritime, air, and land efforts.
We're a singular squadron out of Lord Strathcona's Horse Royal Canadians. We're focused on tanks and tank tactics, and that's what we'll be implementing while we're over there. We'll be blending in with the battle group and focusing on how to fight in tanks in that environment.
In Latvia, Canadian forces expect to have a full complement of up to 2,200 personnel by 2026. There are currently 1,900 members there. NATO's mission in Latvia began in 2017 with a Canadian-led contingent. The U.S. Department of Justice is filing multiple federal charges against the man accused of shooting 2 Democratic lawmakers and their spouses. Federal officials accuse 57-year-old Vance Belter of going to the homes of 4 politicians with the intent to kill them. State Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband were shot dead. Another lawmaker and his spouse were shot and are expected to recover. Officials say Belter went to 2 other homes and was unsuccessful in attacking them. Belter faces 2 counts of first-degree murder and 2 counts of attempted murder. Up next, capitalizing on Canadian pride.
We want to keep our money here.
The Liberal government fulfills a campaign promise meant to help Canadians explore their own backyard. Also next, a former federal politician unexpectedly drawn into a rap beef. Looking at the markets, the Canadian dollar was up marginally, trading for 73 cents to the American dollar. Oil was down more than $1, ending the day at $70.25 U.S. a barrel. Natural gas gained 17 cents. Gold lost $35 on the day. The TSX closed up 64 points. The Dow Jones was up 317. The federal government is providing an incentive to visit Canada's museums and parks, capitalizing on the fact that many Canadians are avoiding U.S. travel this summer. CTV's Abigail Beeman has the details of the Canada Strong Pass.
At the Canadian Museum of Nature, Akal likes the dinosaurs.
They look realistic.
His mom likes getting her kids engaged away from screens. She also loves the idea of free admission all summer through the Canada Strong Pass against the backdrop of a trade war with the United States.
Planning a trip to the East Coast as well, so I'm glad about this pass. I don't have to pay for my kids' museum entries, but no, absolutely, it's impacted us, and we want to keep our money here.
We've seen Canadians across this great country come together in an incredible show of unity and pride.
The Canada Strong Pass includes free admission to national parks and a 25% discount on camping fees. And for those 17 and under, admission to national museums and travel on Via Rail is completely free, while it's half off for those 18 to 24. The pass was a Liberal campaign promise when a focus on vacations within our borders was already at the forefront, and that hasn't changed. Last month, the number of Canadians who returned from the U.S. by car was down nearly 40% from May the year before. By air, return trips from the U.S. were down 24%. Interestingly, there was a nearly 10% increase for Canadians returning from overseas.
We've just opened our new exhibition.
The Museum of Nature hopes the pass will encourage even more tourists from other provinces.
People don't realize this is Canada's National Natural Heritage and History Museum. It's open to anybody to come, but a lot of folks don't get to come to see it.
And while the government called it the Canada Strong Pass, there's actually no pass at all. You can just show up, or in some cases, like overnight camping, make a reservation. Abigail Beeman, CTV News, Ottawa.
Jagmeet Singh has apologized to Drake after the rapper called him out for attending Kendrick Lamar's concert in Toronto. The former federal NDP leader was spotted at the venue Sunday night. He apologized after Drake posted a screenshot of a direct message he sent to Singh. In the message, the rapper called Singh a goof. Singh said he shouldn't have gone at all and that for him it will always be Drake over Kendrick. The two artists have been engaged in a bitter feud over the last year. Country music star Brad Paisley has expanded his tour to include an Edmonton date. Paisley's Truck Still Works World Tour will come to Rogers Place Friday, November 7th as part of the Canadian leg of his tour. Tickets go on sale June 19th. There's a new place to see the works of two local artists. Two new water bottle filling stations at Remax Field are home to two colorful murals done by Justine Ma and Peter Nguyen. Both are inspired by the North Saskatchewan River. The murals are a partnership between the Edmonton Riverhawks and EPCOR as part of the Glass of the Sask campaign. It celebrates the city's tap water source, the North Saskatchewan River.
It offers such a different perspective for EPCOR's Glass of the Sask campaign. It's something new and exciting and a way to visually represent the North Saskatchewan River in a very different way for us.
Yeah, I think it's a good kind of respectful way to honor the land and the river.
Sask campaign was created in 2022 to foster pride and connection to the river. The cool, wet weather over the weekend didn't stop some local students from supporting families in need with a lemonade stand. Students from Ann Fitzgerald Elementary traded the refreshments for food donations. The school says this event teaches them important life skills.
Aside from the organizational skills that it took to pull this off today, they're also learning about what it means to be good citizens, what it means to answer God's call to serve others, and what it means to support each other as communities.
This is the second year the school has held the event. Stay with us. Up next, mental training.
We discovered a way to measure cognitive performance.
A look at the mental labor required to partake in a national pastime.
We've got another great night of entertainment coming up right here on CTV, starting at 7 with E-Talk. Programming brought to you by James H. Brown Injury Lawyers, the heavy hitters of injury law.
A new study is examining brain activity in hockey players. The researchers' cutting-edge technology can also help athletes better understand their performance. CTV's Ben Nesbitt explains.
NHL superstar Connor McDavid has pushed the boundaries of physical performance with his electrifying speed. But now SFU researchers are hoping to help athletes speed up their brains.
We discovered a way to measure cognitive performance.
Neuroscientist and SFU professor Ryan Darcy co-founded the NeuroCatch brain scanner. The portable device measures brain responses related to sensory, attentional, and cognitive processing in just 6 minutes using a soft cap.
We can measure you thinking faster, and we can optimize that so that you're actually able to perform better from a mental processing point of view.
The device is being used by sports teams around the globe, and recently Darcy wanted to put it to the test here in BC, where he and his team tested nearly 380 junior A hockey players. The results ultimately differed by positions, with forwards having about a 60 millisecond faster processing speed on average than defensemen.
By our ability to measure their objective brainwaves, we could start to find the things that actually allow them to think faster.
The athletes can then take the feedback and incorporate mental training into their regimen.
We now have kind of an incredible list of things that allow you to shave like 50, 100 to 150 milliseconds off of your ability to cognitively anticipate the play.
Helping skaters stay a step ahead, one scan at a time. Ben Nesbitt, CTV News, Vancouver.
Gorgeous day today. Beautiful evening underway. There is a slight chance after midnight that you might see a shower or thunderstorm push through parts of the Edmonton area. But tomorrow, the sun will come back out. We'll get to about 24, 25 degrees in the afternoon, and then late afternoon, early evening, you might see a scattered shower or a thunderstorm. Wednesday, there's a risk in the morning, then a break midday, and then in the evening, you might see some showers. You following along here? Thursday looks a little steadier, could be an all-day rain event, and then summer officially starts on Friday. That should be a dry day. Saturday, Sunday. You've got temperatures on the cool side in the mid to high teens.
All right. Thank you, Josh. And thank you for sharing your time with us. For news anytime, visit ctvnewsedmonton.ca or now the CTV channel on YouTube.